Good morning. Today we are joined by Dr. Ashok Pandey sir, who is the director of Ahlcon Group of Schools, and also he is one of the most prestigious educationists of our time, with laurels like the Teachers National Award, from international awards to a lot of magazines covering him.
So you can stop here.
so we are humbled that today you have given us your time.
Thank you. I am humbled, and this kind of beginning is even more humbling, and therefore I'm very anxious that you move forward.
Okay. So I'm very curious to know about that you have completed your masters in physics and then you got into education.
Yeah.
How did that journey take place?
Yeah, so it happened in a beautiful office like this, on a beautiful morning like this. The only difference was that in place of you, my professor was sitting before me. And he called me in his office and he said, "Hi Ashok, how are you?" I was his research student. I said, "I'm fine, sir." And he said that, "Why are you not interested in teaching?" I said, "Sir, who told you I'm not interested in teaching? I am interested in teaching." And there was a glee on my face, and I was blushing and shining and glowing. You know why? Because I thought that now my professor is going to give some of his classes to me. Because without any offense, at least in my time, many professors would not take a lot of pride in taking classes regularly, right? Not for any bad reason, but anyway. And research scholars used to take pride in taking some of their classes. So I thought that that opportunity has come to me without making any effort. And the moment my professor, was seeing and observing those physiological changes in me, he said that I must correct you, or I must correct myself. I said, "So what happened?" He said, "I'm not talking of university teaching." Almost he was reading my mind. I said, "So fine, so please clarify, what do you have in mind?" And he said, "The challenge lies in dealing with young minds."
Wow.
I knew I was on the ground by that time. I said, "Sir, I'm your student, and I also believe in honoring my words. Tell me what is in your mind." And he said, "Tomorrow morning you come to my house, you will have breakfast with me, and then you will know what is going to happen." So this happened. I'm cutting it short.
So what happened in that magical breakfast?
So that's what I'm saying. So at the breakfast, he was there, his very lovely wife was there, his young son was there, I was there, and one very towering, tall, handsome personality was there, whom I did not know before. And professor introduced me to him. He was a former colonel from the armed forces, and he was running a school. And he had come to him because he was his friend, that, "Look, from your university I want some youngsters who would like to make a career in teaching." And my professor said that, "Here is a boy, you take him." And everything was final. That colonel was very resourceful. Within 2 hours he got a ticket for me. And the same evening I traveled from Allahabad to Gurgaon. Even then in my mind it was that I have been in Allahabad for a very long time. Let me go and see the fizan and atmosphere and atmospherics of Delhi. Gurgaon was a gaon at that point of time, as you know, but Delhi was the attraction. And I said, "I'll be there for some time and see what to do, what not to do." But once I came, I joined Colonel. It was a Rotary Public School in Gurgaon. And 2 years I worked with him, and then I realized that I have no other career meant for me.
Wow.
And perhaps no other career will accept me as well, right? So that is what happened, and as we move along, perhaps maybe something I'll share of that experience.
Sure, I'm curious.
So this is the answer to your question.
So from that school to now? It's been 35
Yeah,
years?
more than, yeah, about 35 years.
35 years?
Yeah, so I worked there for three and a half
Wow.
years. And then I decided that if I have to make a career here, I was career conscious also. I said that I must get the best experience in this sector.
Absolutely.
So I moved to Mayo College, Ajmer,
Yes.
which is one of the best, because that gives you a complete experience of classroom teaching, outside classroom teaching, remaining in the company of the school children, and a huge place. At that time when I joined, it was 125 years old school.
Yes.
So imagine the legacy, imagine the glory, and imagine the prospects
Must have
that
been
it
a dream
offered.
come
It was a dream come true, and that is how I landed there one fine morning. But I must tell you, my this three and a half years of experience was something which went in my favor. And I remember the principal there of Mayo College, when he interviewed me, he said that I have nothing to ask you. I'm just asking you, how could you accomplish these things in such a short period of time?
Okay.
And I narrated my whole experience and a story that I work with the children 24/7, and this is the achievement, and this is how we deal with children. And he said, fine, we want you here. So that was Mayo College. So let's move along, and then I'll tell you why I left Mayo. Yeah.
It must have been, no, see, you have said, you have a career,
Yeah.
and everybody follows a
Of
career,
course,
right?
yeah.
Even you are following your career, you also want to grow.
Very
so-
consciously,
Yeah.
very consciously, very methodically. But I was not in a hurry. I was not in a hurry. I was very systematic about it. I knew exactly what I had to do in this career, and God was helping me at every stage.
For getting into something,
Yes.
you have to get out of something also,
Yes.
no matter
Absolutely.
how good
Absolutely.
it is. Yeah.
Absolutely.
So, with this 35 years into education and an educator in its own excellence, so what are the changes that you have seen?
So from there, I moved to another school abroad, and then I came back to India. And if I start looking back to those decades, and if you ask about the changes in education,
I will be more precise. Like the first decade, second decade, now the third decade going on. What are the three very important changes in these 3 decades?
absolutely, I think this is a fantastic question. So the first decade, when you had most of the children in the groups that you taught were first generation learners.
Yes.
You see, so that was the first. So first generation learners, their motivation, the inspiration that is inbuilt into them, and the support of their families, and the aspirations of those families that we could not get good education, and therefore let's give our best to our this next generation, right? So that was a huge percentage, I would say, particularly in the schools that I worked, the first generation learners, right? Then I moved to Mayo College. Now Mayo College was not first generation learners.
Yes.
The Mayo College, the
elite
clientele was almost elite group, you see. So, and by that time a decade has also changed, and Mayo College was also going through a paradigm shift in its process of education, because you used to go to Mayo College not to get good marks. You used to go to Mayo College to build your personality, to be a leader, to learn how to deal with situations, to work in a team, to be a good sports person, good speaker, and of course a good academic record also. But what was happening was that the Mayo College was losing somewhere in competition, because the world around our boards and examinations was becoming exam driven.
Yes.
And high percentages were just about to creep into our psyche, I'm talking of early 90s. Because if you have good marks, then you'll get good admission, then you'll be picked up by good colleges. If you have good personality, that did not have any weightage in your admission process.
Yeah, true.
Right? So that was unfortunate. And that is how Mayo College decided that no, we have to put a lot of emphasis on academic as well.
They smelled it early.
So that, of course, they smelled it very early,
Very early.
without compromising on
Education.
anything else. So that was something very interesting. But for a young teacher, I was also growing as a human being. I was also growing in the company of young children. So I was aspiring to be a better teacher. I was a physics teacher. Physics is a very prestigious subject, as you know.
The elder sister of mathematics.
Yeah. Oh, really? And the mathematics people, you have said it, but they will not agree. I know.
But that's the reality.
Yes, but they go hand in hand. You know, there's a lot of symbiotic relationship between the two subjects. So I was growing myself. I was evolving as a teacher, as a person, as a guardian, as a mentor to my students. So that is what happened in the second generation. And then the third, when I went abroad immediately after Mayo College, I went to Saudi Arabia.
Yes.
I will tell you in a minute why I decided to go abroad, which is something very symptomatic of a person who has entered into a profession which did not carry a lot of prestige, did not promise a lot of money, right? And not many people, even then also and today also, would enter into teaching profession. You know it. But since I had entered the profession and I was trying to make the best of it, I was trying to get the best out of the system. The only thing that I could do at that point of time is be a teacher for some time more, and then I could have become principal of a school or something like that. It's fine. And then I got married in between.
Okay.
I got my son born to both of us, and then the finances become an issue. Now you have to run a family.
Yeah.
So you move from bachelorhood to a family. As a bachelor, whatever I was getting was a pocket money for me because I had no other expenditure to be made. And in a residential school, you get almost everything free. You don't have to run a kitchen and things like that. Anyway, so my wife and I, we consciously decided that look, we have to run our families and we have to make our future secure for both of us and for our children.
Very practical decision.
See, and then coming from the background that I do, I also had a lot of family responsibilities towards my parents, towards my siblings. So we thought that at this point of time, we need some very clean money.
Absolutely.
And that money could only come from a tenure abroad.
Absolutely.
So both of us moved to Saudi Arabia, a beautiful country. We worked there for 6 years.
Okay.
And we fulfilled all our responsibilities. And then we came back to make and build and rebuild our careers. Right? And by that time I had entered into almost the third decade.
What was the thing that you learned from Saudi Arabia education
so we had entered into the third decade by that time. Now Saudi Arabia gave me one of the most fantastic experiences of life, both as a country, which is considered to be a very difficult country.
And conservative.
And a conservative society. But I would tell you, and not many people know it, that their conservatism, I'm not commenting about their political system and their societies, but that conservatism was not impacting the expatriates there. Because you did not have any discrimination, you were getting the petrol at the same price as locals, you were getting the food items at the same price as that, we were getting free medical care and attention in that country. You see, and people are absolutely loving. They had a lot of respect for Indians. At one point of time when I developed some research interest, I thought that let me find out why is it that Indians are loved so much in this land and also in the Gulf countries. And I met almost 15 top businessmen of Saudi Arabia. Right, owners of big multinational companies. I did a research, that research was published also in one of the local magazines. And invariably it came out, they said that the values of life, you see, the respect, honesty, integrity, hard work, family values, if we have to find out from somewhere, we have to find it in an Indian. And therefore Indians are loved there, they are respected there, and they are trusted there. So that as an Indian, gave me a greater sense of pride than anything else.
I'm getting the pride now.
See?
Yes, sir. There's goosebumps coming out.
So that was amazing. Then the second aspect is that everybody there who is Indian and working there, they are there to fulfill their aspirations.
Absolutely.
Because you don't go to that country to build your future, that you will buy a house there and you live there and you'll get your children married there and you'll have a retired life. It is not like that. You go there for a short period of time, you fulfill your economic needs, you get the best education for your children, and then you come back, right? So everybody has a very greater, intense aspiration to fulfill.
Okay.
So those parents are absolutely committed to the good education of their children.
Okay. And what was the third decade for?
So I'm almost coming into third decade. By the time that happened, I came back to India again, and then I moved into senior positions. I became principal and I became senior administrator. By the time, the things have changed in India. And what has changed is that the young parents of that, let us say 1997 or 2000 onwards, particularly 21st century, if I can use the word, the parents' aspirations had doubled up. They wanted good marks for the children also, and they wanted their children to be first-rate human beings also. So the children should be good in sports, they should be good debaters, they should be good communicators, and they should also be 99%ers. So on one hand, it was good that other than academics, those qualities were finding place in the thought process of parents. But the bad thing is that the focus on very high mark was still there, right? And therefore, people like us who had to start new schools in this country, we had a huge challenge.
Absolutely.
That how to meet this aspiration.
Third decade also was a ongoing thing for technology.
Yeah, so I'm just coming to that. So what was happening is that one is that this broadening of aspirations from the schools, and then second is that you also need a very good building. In the previous decades, building did not have any place or importance, but you need a first-rate building like Entab, right? And everything neat and clean. This is infrastructure, good sporting facilities, good labs, good library, you see, good reception, some smiling face to welcome the children and parents. So this is one thing. But the second thing is, as you rightly said, the technology was also, making its inroads into the teaching learning process. And therefore, when we started this school in Delhi, we had these 2-3 things in mind. That how are we going to be different from others?
So
right?
You started?
Yes, this
Ahlcon?
2003.
Ahlcon?
So Ahlcon 2003. And 2003 is the time when these questions were coming in our mind, that we need a very good building. We need to produce high percentage students. We need to give them a very good platform where they can be the good personalities and they can and they can feel comfortable as not only as a citizens of Mayur Vihar or Delhi, but also as citizens of the world. Absolutely. Right? And the usage of technology. And the last thing which we thought that we cannot do without is developing international linkages.
Oh yes, it is.
And that is how we thought that the only one thing that can very nicely articulate this vision is Indian values and global perspective. So
Indian values and
global perspective.
Oh, wow.
So that became the vision motto of our school.
Wow.
So because personally also, my management also, and my whole upbringing, always dictated to me that the Indian values in many ways are supreme to any other value system. And that was endorsed by the people in Saudi Arabia, as I said. That has been endorsed by a lot of people that I have come across, not only in India but abroad. And everybody talks about Gandhian values.
Yes.
Everybody talks about the scriptures. Everybody talks about what Aurobindo has said. Everybody talks about what Vivekananda has said.
Absolutely.
So that gave me a sense of pride that I need not look for any other value system. than what is already enshrined
India is the
in our
spiritual
own
hub of the
scriptures.
world.
You see? And now that our own philosophy has suggested that we must treat the whole world as family, therefore this global perspective.
Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely.
So global perspective in the sense that the children should be sensitive to the needs of the globe. So they may think and live and act locally, but the perspective should be global. Because we knew in 2003 that by the time our first batch of graduates come out of our schools, the world will have changed so much that they will have to work in multicultural teams. They will have to work in multicultural environments, right? So that was something which we were able to envision at that point of time. And that is what I define as the narrative of the last decade of my career. And therefore I built on my first decade and second decade into the third decade, which precisely is what you are trying to ask me, that how these decades shaped my own thought
Absolutely.
and vision about education.
I wonder that such a great leader right now, you are doing wonders in education. How
Thank you.
your childhood would look like? How was it?
So I think my childhood, I may not have been very happy with how things were moving, but if you ask me this question, I can tell you with a great confidence that if my childhood was not what it was, probably I would not have been what I am today.
What it was like?
So I had the opportunity to study at various places, number one, because my father was a railway employee.
Okay.
So his job was transferable. So much so that at one point of time when he could not keep his family with him, we were transported to our village.
Okay. And which
So
village
I
was
had
this?
a very remote, obscure place you may not have heard in the eastern UP,
Okay.
right?
Okay.
And then I studied in a village school for 3 to 4 years.
Sorry to interrupt, but that village school must have created a huge impact somewhere.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
That suddenly I moved from a very comfortable, from a very good, cozy system of education to, so there, let me tell you, there I was sitting on a chair because that school had table and chair.
Chair.
And the village school, I was squatting on the floor.
Okay.
But I never felt bad about it.
Why?
At that time, we did not have that vision
Okay.
of comfort. So we thought that, well, that is what it is. It was there and it is not here. Fine, cool.
But the learning was the motive.
So learning was the motive. And devotion and dedication of the teachers was the motive. And then everybody from the village, you know, why I say what I said a few minutes ago, that my student experience, my childhood experience, you know, gives me strength today. Today, in 2019 and 20, we are talking about inclusive education. I'm product of inclusive
Yeah,
education.
that's what I was about to
You
say.
see?
Yeah.
So I'm product of inclusive education.
Absolutely.
I sat with every strata of society that children were coming from.
That shaped you.
That shaped me.
Yeah.
And we had never any differences. We would fight with each other without it. I mean, believe me, I came from the landlord's family. And there were people who were the land tillers actually. And we all studied together. We were all very good friends. We would tease each other. We'll all fight
That
with
gave
each
you
other.
the inclusivity.
So that inclusiveness is in my blood, I can say that. And that is why when Government of India talked about 2010, this right to education, for me, it was a very, very welcome move. And that is why the first attempts that we made in Ahlcon to this inclusion process was appreciated. The Indian Institute of Management, Ahmedabad talked about it. They came and talked to me, they interviewed me. Hindustan Times, they interviewed me. And they wanted to know that how you are able to do it. And I said, I'm able to do it because this is the only natural thing to do.
Because of your...
Because of my experience, you know.
This is the thing I wanted to know. Yeah.
And another thing is that I told them that, look, as children, I think this is almost same in everywhere.
Yes, 100%.
It shapes, and maybe it grows, and maybe it builds up with the environment, right?
Now, I'm getting more deeper.
Yeah, please.
As a child, were you a mischievous or a studious child?
So I was studious and I was mischievous also, because I used to play a lot of pranks with my friends.
And any prank that you remember? Why I'm saying this, some of the pranks really, at that point of time, we feel it is a prank and the teacher like thrashes us. But on the other hand, after some time, we realize it is a lesson for us for a longer period of time. Did it happen with you?
You see, some of the pranks I think are very natural to children. And if it doesn't happen, I feel that children are not growing naturally.
Which are the pranks?
So I will tell you.
Yeah.
So when I was in my village school, I will tell you many, but time is not there, but at least one. So when I was in my village school, we were traveling from my house to the school, which was almost 1.5 kilometers or something like that. And this distance of 1.5 kilometers was all agricultural field.
Okay.
And through the narrow lanes we would go, through the fields and all that. So many a times, I know my friends are coming, and I would be hiding myself in the sugarcane field. And then I'll come roaring like a lion or any other thing, just to scare them,
Really? So you do that voice?
So we used to do it. So sometimes I was at the receiving end also.
Did you scare someone like head to mouth? It was like...
Well, first time it was, almost question of life and death.
Really? I got it.
But later on, everybody
You
discovers.
were mischievous for sure. And I think because you were mischievous, this is the reason you can connect to students so
Yes,
well.
yes.
And this is the success of Ahlcon also.
So that's what I'm saying. So my childhood experience, and then my experience as early teacher, as a young bachelor or fresh from the college, I think these two things are the defining factors in shaping my life.
Now, as a childhood and as a teenage, there's a huge difference between both the age group. As a teenager, what were you like? Like more into career, more into studies, more into bunking class and seeing movies or something like that?
No, bunking classes I would not say.
Okay.
I never thought of bunking classes
Okay.
because we came from that background. That bunking class was not one of the fun-loving things for us. But of course, movie. So, and we come from a background and we come from that era where watching movie was also considered to be a bad thing.
Really?
Right? So don't forget that. Okay. So if something is considered to be a bad thing, and if you're doing it, then you are daring a lot.
Okay.
Right? So we would not like to know that our parents know that we went to watch a movie.
Okay. So do you remember which was the first movie, and you really, because as a teenager, I believe you have to really, save that one penny, then you have to buy a ticket, go for a movie.
No. In young life, I'm sure you also must have experienced it. There is a lot of kitty system,
Okay.
So kitty system means that once you take others,
Bullet mein rakh do.
then somebody else will take you next time.
Oh, acha,
So you have something, you have given party or a movie ticket to somebody else, so you are sure that next few movies are free for you.
That also taught you sharing and caring.
Sharing and caring, obviously.
That is the base of Ahlcon also.
And with with a lot of integrity.
Yes.
And in my case, I always thought that I should be the first one to offer it, and then I'll expect return.
Giver first.
Yeah, giver first. Always. And somehow it was inbuilt in me because I didn't want to have any credit on me. I thought that I will do it first, and then I'll wait for the person to revert.
Now I am more into which was the first movie you saw and you're like, okay, wow, this is a movie I am going to remember for a long, long time.
You see, I didn't know you will ask me the name of the movie, but I'm just recalling. I think it was Aan Milo Sajna, Rajesh Khanna.
Yeah. So you are a Rajesh Khanna fan.
Well, I was not fan of him, but this is the movie which I got opportunity to watch first.
You still watch movies a lot?
Not as much as I used to do before.
But do you believe movies has lot to play about child psychology, like the children
Why
catch
not? Of course. In between, I'll tell you, even while I was growing from teenagership to adulthood I came already into my career. I mean, every generation talks about something good about their generational popular culture. So I'm no exception to that. But still, I would feel that the popular cinema today is vastly different from what it was before.
Which one do you like, today or tomorrow?
So I'm trying to make a balance because I live with children, you know, I'm working with children. So I cannot be a side taking. But inside me, of course I have love for the old movies, the old songs, but some of the best movies and songs of the present era also I watch, I talk about it. Today if I have to give an example to my child, I will not go to 60s and 70s. I will have to pick up a movie of 80s and 90s and post 2000. Right?
Yes.
So that is also part of my job demand. That I have to be contemporary, because if you are not a contemporary, then the children will start getting bored out of it.
Constantly change and upgrade for the better.
And adapt. That is what human life is.
So I believe that a child is a shadow of father and mother. And we take a lot of things from our father as well as from our mother. What are the things, what are the principles that you have taken? So
my father was a disciplinarian, and he himself was very disciplined in his own life, very hardworking, absolute integrity. So I'm of course influenced by that. As far as my relationship with him is concerned, that he would demand a lot of discipline, and my mother would mediate. So whenever I was in a situation that I am going to have that, anger or rebuke or reprimand, she would come in between and shield, and she would tell him that, okay, we will tell him that this is right, this is wrong, but you should not be very harsh. She will tell it to my father. But privately she will tell me that you should not have done this.
Yes. That as a leader now, did it help?
Yes, so this is what I do exactly. So first of all, I would not react to a situation, and then I learned that how to quieten a situation, and it became one of my leadership principles that when you deal with teachers, you get angry, isn't it?
Yes.
You deal with children, you get angry. But I always followed the principle that public praise and private criticism.
Wow.
This is one thing.
Public praise,
and
private criticism.
So if you have to say something, say it privately.
It's very important for the parents as well as for every leaders to know this is what actually made Ahlcon and
absolutely.
your leadership, that you always praise
publicly
and
shout out. The leaders have to learn how you can shout out about even a very insignificant achievement of a child and the teacher.
That motivates to get more.
That motivates the person and inspires others. Right? So it will motivate that person that I am getting a public applause. And the others who are applauding are getting inspired. Right? I mean, I will share with you the famous story of Sachin Tendulkar. His mojo moment or the moment which changed his whole thought process was that he was sitting in the stadium and somebody was hitting fours and sixes and he was clapping, and then quietly from behind his coach, Mr. Achrekar, he came and he said, Sachin, how long will you keep clapping like this? You have to go out in the middle and let this entire stadium clap for you. Right?
Did someone say something like this to you which changed your whole process?
So I was in class 6, I will tell you, and people say that I was good in debating, and I came first in one inter-school debating, inter-school debating competition.
Absolutely.
And you know what happened after that?
Yes.
So I'm talking of maybe late 60s or something like that, and there was assembly next morning, and my school's managing committee's chairperson was there. He came especially to applaud the children, and he praised me before the whole school and teachers and all that. And you know what he did? You can't imagine. He said, I have a special prize, an award of ₹1 for Ashok.
Wow. And wow.
₹1. And it was a huge thing. It was a huge amount. And I'll tell you how it was a huge amount if you don't, you are not able to perceive it.
I can completely relate it.
No, I'm telling you, the next morning, when I went into the class after receiving that princely sum of ₹1, and next morning when I went to the classroom, my class teacher, he said, you got ₹1 yesterday, and he told me in Hindi, सब उड़ा दिया या कुछ किताब भी खरीदी? Can you believe it? So in ₹1, you could buy something for your friends, and you could also buy a book.
So what you did?
So I had done both.
Acha.
So I had bought mungfali also
Okay.
as a party for my friends, and I had got a small booklet also. So coming back to your question, that this gave me the confidence, and this is a kind of confidence that it remains with you. It doesn't go away.
It was so imbibed in your memory that this was the first thing you told.
It will never
the
go
moment
away.
I asked you.
I'll tell you, one of my girl students in class 12 in her farewell speech, so she was with us for 12 to 13 years. So in her farewell speeches, she had come with all the certificates she had got throughout her career in the school. And in her farewell speech, she took out a certificate which she got in class 5. And she said that while giving this certificate, Principal Sir said this.
Oh, wow.
In class 6, he said this. In class 7, he said this. And I remember all those. And all those things more than this certificate, which he commented upon my ability and how I did and what I could, it gave me the confidence and the inspiration.
I'm sure with all the children it happens.
So I'm just giving you. So I have been very conscious. In fact, I have been very intentional, I will tell you, and very deliberate not to miss an opportunity to give encouragement to a child. Not to miss an opportunity. You see? So
that's so important.
Yes, and in fact, I also made it a point that as much as possible, some of the children, they go for dance classes, they go for music classes, they have some matches coming up, or they have something else, and their programs are in the evening, some show or a stage performance. They will come and invite me, sir, can you come? I was very touched when some of them came and said, sir, I know you are very busy, but I'll be very happy if you can come. Imagine this kind of articulation. And I made it a point that I will go. And believe me, in a capacity of 200 people in the hall, their eyes will stay only at me. So for me it was, of course, very pleasant, but I can imagine what it might have done to the child. So that is why one of the things which I must tell you, though you have not asked about it, that what builds the character and confidence of the children, and what teachers and school leaders must do to them, and that is to invest their emotional energy into them. And this investment of emotional energy is nothing but very simple. Make them feel important, make them feel valued, make them feel attended to, make them feel that you believe in their ability much more than what they are capable of. And if children start living with this, that here is a group of people around me, parents, teachers, anybody else who had faith in me, belief in me, they give me importance, undivided attention, that builds the emotional quotient of children.
Coming to that emotional quotient, was there this long journey, a lot of success, was there at any point where you felt or you were not so happy with the way you were going and you were stressed? Was there any point in this whole career?
I would be very honest about it.
Yeah.
As I said, teaching is not a preferred career which I have been lamenting all my life, though I chose it. And therefore, and this society, everybody wants everybody, without exception, that my child should go to the best school. And my child should have the best teachers in the world. But the same people do not want their children to be the best teachers.
Yes.
Right? So this is a dichotomy in our thought process.
Even now
also it is. And therefore sometimes I felt, not for me personally, because I was very fortunate. I worked at places and in situations where I got the respect and recognition that I was vying for. But in general, whenever I felt that teachers are not respected, or teachers are not treated well, teachers are not a happy lot, that used to pain me. It pains me even now also. And therefore my response to this feeling of little bit of pain is that at least I have tried in my life, out of my 35 years that you say, 24, 25 years I have been head of institutions in one capacity or the other. So as the head of the institution, I have tried to build the capacity and the prestige of the teachers as much as I could. And that is why I say that all good institutions, and particularly managements of those good institutions, they should treat teachers with dignity.
Do you think it happens?
It is not happening. That is why I'm saying they should. So I'm not saying it is not happening across the board, but it is not happening at quite a lot of places. And all institutions should be the extended families. Teachers and students both should be treated as assets. In fact, teachers are double assets in the sense that they are taking care of the assets of this country and the world, that is children. And they are themselves an assets. Because if they are not treated as assets, I mean, have you ever thought that you can multiply anything without investing?
No, never.
This has not happened. This is unnatural.
Absolutely.
Even to think of it. So if teachers are not invested in, how can you expect that their investment will create value asset and capital, and particularly a human capital?
I think if happy teachers can, make the happy students come out of the school.
Including President APJ Abdul Kalam, so many people have said that if you want an index of happiness of a country, go to the schools.
Yes.
And find out how happy the children are. I would extend it further, that before that you see and find out how happy the teachers are, because it is their happiness which will be transferred to the happiness of children.
It's a very personal question. Do you think we are doing enough to make the teachers happy?
No, we are not. I have said it already. We are not doing enough, and we should do enough.
What can we do the least possible to make them happy? What is the least?
Dignity, respect.
Yeah.
You see, and how do you make one person dignified?
Praising them,
recognizing them, making them feel that they are valuable contributors to the society building. These things are not difficult, So, they should be welcomed. So there should be a welcoming, enabling environment around them.
And even the teachers should accept the change that is happening. That is, they have to learn technology in a new way, because the students are very tech friendly now.
So, what we have been discussing so far is the half of this story, as far as teacher asset development is concerned. The last word on this subject has been said by Dr. Radhakrishnan, and he should be the role model of all teachers. After all, he dedicated his birthday to the teachers in the form of Teachers' Day. So I don't think any teacher can ever forget the contribution that he has made to the teaching fraternity, right? What did he say? He said what we have been discussing so far, that the society has to invest in the teachers. Number one. Number two, he said that the best minds should come to teaching. And the third, he said, which is very important, is, which many teachers may conveniently not read or not remember, that once as a society I have invested in you, and as a teacher you have preferred to contribute to the society like that, only then we can hold you accountable. Right?
True.
So accountability is not condoned, you know. You have to be accountable. So to gain your respect, to be good to the children, you also have to invest in yourself. So you grow as a person, you be a good reader, you be a well-studied person. Because if everything is given to you and you are not reciprocating it, you will not get the respect.
Yes.
You will not get the respect.
For getting the respect, you have to work.
You have to work.
Yeah, continuously you have to work. My next question comes about the change and the dichotomy of the kids of balancing between the tech, the curriculum, parents, friends, lot of things are there. So the first question is, do you think in today's kids some values are missing which used to be earlier the main intact of a person?
So, I mean, this is a very debatable question, and a lot of debating and churning is going around it. My take on this are the following: 1, 2, 3. Today's children, you know, values are of 2 layers. Let me clarify.
Which are the 2 layers?
So, one layer is eternal value,
Okay.
which will never change. So, honesty, integrity, respect to elders, you know, it is not going to change. But some contemporary values will also come in. So, say for example, today, I mean, can you think of working and moving in this society without technology?
Never.
You cannot.
No.
You cannot. And therefore, if your value system is, oh, no, technology is bad, so that value system you have to change. Right? It is not like that. And when we say that the children are spending too much time on technology, I think then we learn from the past that how much time we were spending with the children and how much time today's parents are spending with the children.
I think Ahlcon has balanced it very well.
So we are trying to balance it, you know. So keep the children engaged.
Engaged in what?
Both in the classroom and outside the classroom.
Okay.
So engaged in what is a good question. So engage with the purpose. So what is the purpose? I don't think it is very difficult to find out the purpose of a child. But also add to that purpose. I tell the parents of my school and anywhere I get an opportunity that at one stage, all of you are elders. So what are you doing to your parents who may be in their 70s or 80s or something like that? So what I am trying to tell is that your children will remain your children.
Absolutely.
Nobody can say that he or she is somebody else's child. But you start investing in your child to make your child citizen of this world.
Right. So how do they, this is a question, and how do they invest, in what way, like that they become, they really...
Yes. So that is where the importance of a school and parents will come. So say for example, just...
They can think of becoming that global citizen we are
Just a
talking
few
about.
weeks ago, a child of mine who has got in Maulana Azad Medical College, he came with his father. And then I started praising him and this and that. And I said that we are so proud of you and things like that. And then I said that, look, I don't know when we'll meet next. You will also be very busy. I will also be very busy. But I want to tell you one thing. And I told his father that, look, please celebrate as much as you can. But from today only you will start thinking that he is going to be a doctor for the world.
Yeah.
Right?
That is very important.
Today you say that my son has got into Maulana Azad. Very true. But after some time you start preparing yourself when he becomes a doctor for the world. Right? He will become a doctor for a patient.
Very noble.
Right? So you will have to withdraw yourself from his life and let his life be devoted to the world, to the society, to the community.
I really wish that people around the globe, those who are listening right now, can take this point that to invite that global citizenship feeling in each and everyone. It's very important to maintain the peace of the whole world.
Absolutely. So I will take a minute to come back to your last question. That you said the contemporary values. So please tell me, if I am studying, I'm getting good marks, I have become a top-rate engineer, I'm working for a multinational company and things like that, after that what? So after that, if my education has been value-based, then I think I should start getting pained that somebody is poor, somebody is hungry, somebody is starving. That sensitivity we have to build in our children.
Absolutely.
Our children are privileged in our schools. They should feel absolutely pained when they find that there is a street child who has no access to education. Right? So this should become the value system. This should become the value system, the sensitivity to the needs of the others in the society.
As a father yourself, what were your challenges when you embraced fatherhood?
So I think I would call myself, and perhaps it would be very daring on my part to accept it, that in parenting in general is accidental, right? So we naturally become parents. There is no training for that. Huh? So we learn
By doing it.
By doing it. And maybe we become a better parent for your second child, right? if you go for the second child. So anyway, I have got 2 children for your information. So I was a better parent for my second child, I would say, because first child, naturally it happened, and the parenting was not a challenge also in those times, isn't it? Because I'm talking of 80s when my son was born. So like I was a child in the family, my son also came as a child in the family. But one thing I was noticing that
Change.
the children are at one stage. Howsoever good parenting you do, you must realize one thing, that the children are moving in the society and they are learning a lot of things from society. They get the cues from the society and they get influenced by their peer group also.
Yes. Now, how as a father then you balance it?
Yeah. So for me it was easy, I would say, because I was a teacher.
Those who are not teachers?
So those who are not teachers, for them it would be a little challenge. But I suggest to the parents when they come, in any typical school, I think I will not be wrong when I make this a statement, that every parent, when their children reach class 9 and 10, they start giving up on their children because they don't listen to them. And then they come to a school and they say, if you only do something, my child is not listening to me.
Why do you think that happens?
That is a general refrain. That is a general refrain. So why it has happened is, I will tell you. In a typical school, in nursery, KG 1 and 2, on any parent day, attendance is 90 to 100%. In 6th, 7th, 8th, it drops down to 60%. When they are in senior classes, it is 20 to 30%. So please tell me, who is responsible for that? I think parents are responsible. So on one hand, they think that no, my child is grown up. Fine, agreed. On the other hand, even when they are grown up, I think some intervention, some collaboration, some contribution is necessary. So you just cannot abandon everything. And when that gap comes, so who is filling that gap? Social media, peer group, uncurated information. So when all those things have filled that gap, you cannot demolish that.
Coming from you with so much of experience and so much of vast knowledge, that the parents should not leave the child thinking that they are adults now, they can take decisions. They must attend the PTMs, they must be in touch with the teachers so that they get the best.
Absolutely.
That's a very beautiful thing.
What happens is that I have also felt one thing, and I think it is a good opportunity for me to share that. That parents, they are so busy with their work, and for good reasons, I am not complaining. But even if they are busy, they are doing everything for themselves. I think they should carve out something where they do something for the children also, except for paying the fees. So just paying the fee and making sure the children are boarded the bus, and then after, I think there is a whole lot of things that the parents should do. Right?
So there will be some quick choices for you.
Okay.
And then we are coming to our
end of the
end of this brilliant talk
Thank
that
you.
we had.
Pleasure.
So you have to choose now.
Okay.
YouTube or podcast?
Podcast.
Why?
I think YouTube, I'll have to go through a lot of things. Here it is
Just
one
listening?
to just listening,
TV or Netflix?
TV.
Why?
So, I mean, I have not been very, Netflix has not been a fad for me, and I have not got into it too much, but some of the curated things which I get shared by my friends, I like it, but I think TV is fine because I like political debates on TV,
Okay.
you see, which Netflix will introduce in very soon, I'm told, but right now, TV.
So now, if you have a chance for a, dream vacation, would you travel alone or you would like to travel with some friends? Because family is always a priority, but I'm not taking family, I'm saying friends or alone.
You see, I, in my career, I have traveled far more with my friends than with my family. So, I will cover up for that, but if choice is there, friends.
Okay.
And the friends also, you have got your childhood friend, you have got your college
Yes,
friend,
yes,
you have got your early career friend, you have got your contemporaries, isn't it? So I have been lucky in that sense that with my contemporaries I have traveled a lot. I have myself taken many delegations of
Yes,
the
yeah.
principals and educators to various destinations, and that has been a fantastic experience.
So eating healthy or being regular onto exercise?
Both. I can't choose here. I have to eat healthy and I had to be on regular exercise.
Do you think eating healthy and regular exercise plays a lot of role in building and shaping you as a person?
You see, this is one question which you have asked me, which I am not answering with full conviction, because I cannot say that I am 100% into exercising.
Okay.
So my conviction is little less, but as far as my belief is concerned, I think exercise is a must. And eating healthy, nobody should ask any question about it. I think not eating healthy is so damaging for you.
For the kids especially.
And particularly for kids,
Yeah.
particularly for kids. And I'm very glad that kids are today, they are very conscious about it.
Really?
Of course, parents have become conscious, and generally we check the tiffins and we are seeing a lot of changing trend today.
Lovely.
I mean, with that,
I think then Ahlcon has
that
done a very good job.
that oily paratha and puris are reducing a lot.
Ahlcon has did a good job for training
We have
the
done-
parents.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely, absolutely.
So music or movie?
Both. Why are you giving such difficult choices?
Because you have to take one.
Yeah, so you see, some
Can you choose?
lovely.
Can you say what I think you will choose?
Let me.
Movie.
So, but the only thing is that it takes a lot of time. But believe me, these days, these short movies, 2 minutes, 3 minutes.
Which is the last short movie
So-
which really gave you a lasting impression?
I am forgetting the name, but Nasiruddin Shah starrer movie.
Wednesday?
Wednesday? No, in which he has lost his wallet.
Oh, yeah, I got it.
I'm forgetting the name, but that was so touching, and it reminded me of movies of 60s and 70s, So that emotion, without any paraphernalia. I mean, things like this appeal to me quite a lot.
According to you, the most influential personality in education right now?
Most influential personality in education?
Yeah.
Oh, that's a very, very difficult question.
Who influenced you?
I will tell you. In fact, I wanted to answer this question while I was answering, but somehow I lost track of it. That, the mentors that I got in my life, they have played a very significant role. So let us say my teacher, the village teacher,
Yes.
the town teacher, the university teacher who made me a teacher.
Yes.
You see? So these people, and then
Mayo
the
College.
principals that I work with, my colleagues, but more importantly, my students of the first batch. I'm sure you'll be interested in knowing it. My first batch of class 10 students, when they completed 25 years, Silver Jubilee, they invited me, and all of them, they wanted to share their good sentiments about me. But when my turn came, and I said, look, you may not be aware, but I am telling you today, after so many years, that you made me a good teacher. Whether I taught you physics well or not, you tell. But I am telling you, giving you this certificate, and that was 2012, incidentally. And I said that, you have invited me to felicitate me for my national award. Here is my national award I am dedicating to you. Because I became a good teacher because of you.
As a teacher, now, only as a teacher, what is the one memory that you still is very much fresh and gives you goosebumps?
I share that with my teachers in my training programs. When class 11, my students who were with me for many years, and they came to class 11, and I had not changed myself accordingly because I was I was very popular, so I was little, harsh also with them and things like that. And then in class 11, the same students who I had taught, they called me one day and said, so today we want to share something with you. We love you, we respect you, we'll die for you. You shoot us. I didn't know what they are going to say, and then sir, if you have to say something, don't tell us anything in front of girls.
Okay.
That hurts our ego.
Okay.
So you ensure that the girls are not there, and then you kill us, no problem.
Okay.
So that gave me an inkling into the child psychology. The gender differences and these psychological things. So they used to feel very insulted if something was told to them in the presence of girls.
Sure. Now you are an acclaimed author, brilliant book that you have written. It's a must read for all the school institutions and also the teachers to get so many answers from that book. Now, what is your plan for the next 10 years?
So, first of all, a small correction I'll make. I'm not an acclaimed author, right?
I've read your book, it's really nice.
It is only my experience that I'm trying to bring in and share it. My last book that you are mentioning is nothing but the questions which I have been receiving for past 10 years or so. And I thought that why not write an answer to them and give some commentary on it and let everybody read it.
It is very knowledgeable.
So, it should be. This is what I'm expecting. That, sometimes even if you are very experienced and something, you come across certain situations where you're looking for some hints and some clues as to how to deal with situation, So even if in one of the answers I say that look, have a glass of water before taking a decision, that itself makes a difference, right?
Yes.
Because
why to have a glass of water before taking a decision?
It will delay your decision making process.
And give time to think.
And give time to think.
Such a beautiful point.
You see,
Dr.
because what happens is that when, there is a saying that never take any decision in two situations.
When you are too high on emotion.
And too low. And you can just convert it also when you are too happy or too angry.
Yes, yes.
So avoid these two situations. And how to avoid it? Drink water, take some breath, move around. Consciously, it is only the last 60 seconds between you thought of deciding something and you decided something. These 60 seconds are the crucial ones.
So
if you can manage that, you are through.
Your plans for the next coming decade.
So, plans for the next coming year. So, I have decided, now this is my third book. 2 I have authored and 1 I edited. And God should help me. Every year I want to write 1 book.
Wow. Wow.
Every year. So, this is number 1. And number 2, I want, as long as it is possible for me, I should keep sharing my experiences with teachers, with aspiring leaders, with current leaders, and make whatever contribution I can in the field of education.
And some golden words for Entab.
Golden words for Entab, I was just talking to your founder and I complimented him that it is one of the very few organizations which has believed in the power of networking and bringing these educators on one networking platform where they can learn with each other, where they can share each other's practices. I think it is a brilliant idea. You see, I personally believe that if you have not shared anything in life, your life has not been worth living.
We are so thankful you shared your such beautiful experiences
thank you very
with
much.
us.
It's been great talking to you, and today you made me say something which I have not said all these years.
What? I want to know that. First
Thank
of
you,
all,
Ben. Thank
lastly,
you.
we want the memories that we have in Entab created with you today to stay very deep into our heart.
Absolutely.
And
So
we're
you want me
signing
to
a cup
these
here.
mugs? Where do you
Yes.
want me to sign?
Here.
Here?
Yes.
This is
Beautiful.
fine.
Beautiful.
Thank you.
It was an absolute pleasure
Same
and
here.
a
Same here.
knowledge,
Thank you.
bearing session for all of us.
Thank
Thank you
you.
so much for
Thank you.
coming and blessing.